My boyfriend wants to marry his dying ex-girlfriend, and I'm falling apart. I, 28F, never thought I'd be in a situation like this. My life was going so well. I had a stable job as a graphic designer, a cozy apartment in the city, and most importantly, a loving relationship with the man I thought I'd spend the rest of my life with. Now, everything feels like it's crumbling around me, and I don't know how to stop it. Let me start from the beginning. I met Jake, 30M, 3 years ago at a mutual friend's birthday party. He was charming, funny, and had this infectious laugh that made everyone around him smile. We hit it off immediately, talking for hours about everything from our favorite books to our dreams for the future. By the end of the night, I knew there was something special between us. Our relationship progressed quickly but naturally. Within a few months, we were practically inseparable. Jake was everything I'd ever wanted in a partner. Kind, supportive, and always there for me when I needed him. We moved in together after a year, and it felt like the most natural thing in the world. We talked about marriage, kids, and growing old together. I thought I had found my happily ever after. Last week, everything changed. I came home from work to find Jake sitting on our couch, his face pale and his eyes red-rimmed. At first, I thought someone had died. In a way, I guess I wasn't far off. "Sarah," he said, his voice cracking, "we need to talk." Those words sent a chill down my spine. I sat down next to him, my heart pounding in my chest. That's when he told me about Lily, 29F. Lily was Jake's college girlfriend. They had dated for 2 years before breaking up amicably, when they realized they wanted different things in life. Jake had mentioned her a few times over the years, always with fondness but no lingering romantic feelings. I had never felt threatened by her existence. She was part of Jake's past, and I was his future. Or so I thought. Jake explained that Lily had reached out to him earlier that day. She had been diagnosed with an aggressive form of brain cancer 6 months ago, and despite multiple treatments, the prognosis was grim. The doctors had given her only a few months to live. My heart broke for her. No one should have to face something like that, especially not someone so young. But then Jake continued, and I felt my world tilt on its axis. Lily had a final wish. She wanted to get married before she died. To Jake? I sat there in stunned silence as Jake explained. Lily had always dreamed of her wedding day, of wearing a white dress and walking down the aisle. Now, faced with her own mortality, she wanted to experience that joy, even if it was just for a brief moment. Jake was torn. He emphasized that he didn't have romantic feelings for Lily anymore, that he loved me and wanted a future with me. But he also felt a deep sense of obligation to grant this final wish to someone who had once been such an important part of his life. It would be purely platonic, he assured me, his eyes pleading for understanding. Just a gesture to give her some peace in her final days. We wouldn't live together or anything like that. It would just be a ceremony. And then we'd wait for the inevitable. I felt like I was drowning. On one level, I understood. It was a compassionate act, a final kindness to a dying woman. But on another level, a more selfish one, I was devastated. How could I compete with a dying wish? How could I say no without feeling like the worst person in the world? The past week has been a blur of tears, arguments, and sleepless nights. Jake has given me space to process, but I can see the toll it's taking on him too. He's caught between his love for me and his desire to do what he sees as the right thing for Lily. I've run through every scenario in my mind. If I say yes, I'll have to watch the man I love marry someone else. Even if it's not real, the image of Jake standing at an altar with another woman makes me physically ill. And what if, in the process of caring for Lily in her final days, old feelings resurface? I know it's irrational, but I can't help but worry. If I say no, I'll have to live with the guilt of denying a dying woman her last wish. I'll always wonder if Jake resents me for it, even if he says he doesn't. And a small, dark part of me wonders if he'll leave me anyway, unable to forgive himself for not granting Lily's request. I've tried talking to friends and family, but their reactions have been mixed. Some think Jake is being incredibly selfless and that I should support him. Others are outraged on my behalf, saying that Jake is being emotionally manipulative, even if unintentionally. My best friend, Lisa, suggested that we try to find a compromise. Maybe Jake could participate in a symbolic ceremony that wasn't legally binding, or perhaps we could help Lily have the wedding experience without Jake actually being the groom. But every alternative feels hollow, a poor substitute for what Lily really wants. I've even considered reaching out to Lily directly, but I'm afraid of what I might say or do. Would I break down and beg her to reconsider? Would I be able to maintain my composure, or would I let my jealousy and fear show through? And is it fair to put that kind of emotional burden on someone who's already dealing with so much? Jake and I have always prided ourselves on our open communication, but this situation has created a rift between us. There's a tension in the air that wasn't there before. We're both walking on eggshells, afraid to bring up the topic but unable to think about anything else. I catch him sometimes, staring off into space with a troubled look on his face. I know he's thinking about Lily, about her illness and her request. And each time, I feel a stab of guilt for making this harder for him, followed immediately by a wave of resentment that I'm the one feeling guilty when I've done nothing wrong. Last night, things came to a head. We were lying in bed, the silence between us heavy and uncomfortable. I turned to Jake and asked the question that had been burning in my mind. If the situations were reversed, if I was the one dying and asking you to marry me, what would you do? Jake was quiet for a long moment. I don't know, he finally admitted. I'd like to think I'd do anything to make you happy in your final days. But I also know how much it would hurt Lily if I did that to her. His honesty was both appreciated and painful. It highlighted the impossible nature of the situation we found ourselves in. I've been doing a lot of soul searching over the past week. I've always thought of myself as a kind and understanding person. I volunteer at the local animal shelter. I donate to charity when I can. I try to be there for my friends and family when they need me. But this situation has forced me to confront a darker, more selfish side of myself. Because the truth is, a part of me doesn't want to be understanding. A part of me wants to scream and cry and tell Jake that he's mine, that he can't do this to us, to our relationship. A part of me wants to call Lily and tell her to find someone else to fulfill her dying wish. But then I think about what Lily must be going through. The fear, the pain, the knowledge that her time is running out. I try to imagine myself in her shoes, facing death at such a young age, watching all my dreams and plans turn to dust, and I feel ashamed of my selfish thoughts. I'm lost, Reddit. I don't know what the right thing to do is. I don't know if there even is a right thing to do in this situation. Every option feels wrong. Every path forward seems to lead to pain and regret. If I agree to this, how do I handle the wedding? Do I attend, forcing a smile as I watch the man I love pledge himself to another woman, even if it's just for show? Do I stay away, leaving Jake to face this emotional ordeal alone? And what happens after? How do we move forward in our relationship with this hanging over us? If I refuse, how do I live with myself? How do I look Jake in the eye, knowing I've denied him the chance to bring a moment of happiness to a dying friend? Will our relationship survive the weight of this decision? I'm afraid of losing Jake. I'm afraid of losing myself in this situation. I'm afraid of the resentment and bitterness that might take root in my heart, poisoning what has been the most beautiful relationship of my life. I need advice, perspective, anything. How do I navigate this impossible situation? Am I a terrible person for struggling with this decision? How do I balance my own needs and feelings with the desire to be compassionate and understanding? Please, help me make sense of this. I feel like I'm drowning, and I don't know how to save myself without hurting someone else in the process. Update? It's been 3 months since my original post, and I can't believe how much has changed. First of all, I want to thank everyone who took the time to respond to my original post. Your advice, support, and different perspectives were invaluable during what was undoubtedly the most challenging period of my life. After days of intense discussions, tears, and soul-searching, Jake and I came to a decision. We agreed that he would not marry Lily, but we would do everything in our power to fulfill her wish for a wedding experience in a different way. We reached out to Lily together. It was one of the hardest conversations I've ever had, but also one of the most profound. Lily was understandably disappointed at first, but as we talked, she opened up about her fears, her regrets, and her hopes for the time she had left. What struck me most was her grace and understanding. She admitted that asking Jake to marry her had been a moment of desperation, an attempt to grasp at some semblance of the future she thought she'd have. She apologized for putting us in such a difficult position, and thanked us for our honesty. Together, the three of us came up with a plan. We decided to throw Lily the wedding she had always dreamed of, but without an actual marriage. Jake would walk her down the aisle as a dear friend, and she would exchange vows with life itself, promising to make the most of every moment she had left. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. We reached out to Lily's friends and family, and the response was overwhelming. Everyone pitched in, from donating their services as photographers and florists, to helping with the planning and preparation. The wedding took place in a beautiful garden 2 weeks ago. Lily was radiant in a gorgeous white dress, smiling brighter than I'd ever seen. Jake walked her down the aisle and there wasn't a dry eye in the place. Instead of traditional vows, Lily read a powerful, life-affirming speech that left us all in tears and awe. After the ceremony, there was music, dancing, and so much love. Lily danced with her father, her brothers, and yes, with Jake too. Watching them, I felt none of the jealousy or resentment I had feared. Instead, I felt privileged to be part of something so beautiful and meaningful. The event brought Lily so much joy, and it also gave her loved ones a chance to celebrate her life and show her how much she meant to them. It was a day filled with both laughter and tears, a bittersweet reminder of the preciousness of life and the power of love in all its forms. Lily's health has declined rapidly since then. She's now in hospice care, but she tells us that the memory of her wedding gives her comfort in her difficult moments. Jake visits her regularly, and I've been a few times as well. It's hard seeing her so frail, but her spirit remains strong. As for Jake and me, this experience has transformed our relationship. The challenges we faced forced us to confront difficult truths about ourselves and each other. We had to learn to communicate in ways we never had before, to be vulnerable and honest even when it was painful. There were moments when I thought we wouldn't make it, times when the stress and emotion threatened to tear us apart, but we fought for each other and for our relationship. We went to couples therapy, which helped us navigate the complex emotions we were both experiencing. In the end, I believe we've come out stronger. Jake proposed last week, and this time there was no hesitation, no doubt in either of our minds. We're planning our wedding for next spring, and we've decided to include a special tribute to Lily in the ceremony. This experience has taught me so much about love, compassion, and the complexities of human relationships. I've learned that love isn't always simple or easy, but it's always worth fighting for. I've learned the importance of empathy and understanding, even in the most difficult circumstances. To those who are facing similar challenges in their relationships, I want to say this: communicate openly, be willing to be vulnerable, and don't be afraid to seek help when you need it. And remember that sometimes, the most beautiful solutions come from the most difficult problems. Thank you again, Reddit, for your support during the hardest time of my life. Your kindness and wisdom helped guide us to a resolution that brought peace and healing to everyone involved. I'll always be grateful for that.